I'm very happy to be here with all of you today and have the opportunity to share information about the Texas Higher Education Accountability System, and also to provide you with an update on where we are in this last year of the state's Closing the Gaps plan. And I'm going to start with talking about the Texas Higher Education Accountability System. I've actually reversed this from what's in the program. So we'll talk about where the data is available, and then we'll talk about what the data show. Who uses the accountability system? Well, really a variety of decision makers do. And, you know, we've moved into an era where data-informed decision making is really widely accepted. And we have a wealth of data available at the coordinating board for decision makers to access. And I think it's really important for all of you to understand what we do have available and where to find it. We also have a lot of additional folks who use the accountability system. The press frequently use it. We have researchers around the state and around the nation who access data through our accountability system. The accountability system is used in a lot of different ways. It's used for program reviews and program requests. In fact, we highlight institution accountability system data in our board materials as part of some of those reviews. We have online resumes available. The accountability system feeds those resumes, and those are one-page summaries, briefs of institutional data. There's a page focused on legislators and policymakers, one page for each institution available online, and there's a page focused on students and parents. So those are available if you just want to quickly check the big facts. The Higher Education Accountability System also feeds the Texas Higher Education Almanac. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Almanac, this is our hard copy resource and I know we have copies available for all of you here today, and I would truly encourage you to pick up a copy while you're here. I hear from folks at institutions that often the president or board members will pull a tattered copy out of their briefcase in meetings and ask them questions. It's a great resource for data about individual institutions and also for comparative data across institutions. So I do encourage you to pick up a copy of that. We also have an online application called Compare College Texts. It's really geared towards students. It's basically it's a website, but you can access it through a mobile device, and that has the information from the Almanac available in that format, and really designed for students, but also useful if you're trying to remember a fact or a figure about an institution. Institutional comparisons are a very important component of the accountability system to give the institutions the opportunity to see how they're doing compared to other institutions, and I think in a very positive way, in a way that's focused on institutional improvement, and can we learn from each other. And the Almanac and the accountability system is also useful for regional planning purposes, and of course that's very helpful to us at the coordinating board. The information in the accountability system is organized by peer groups, and we have peer groups come together once or twice a year at the coordinating board to talk about their institutions, to look at data, and to talk about issues that they can help inform, issues that might impact their peer institutions. We have 2 research institutions in the state, 8 emerging research institutions, 7 doctoral, 6 comprehensive, and 14 masters in terms of our universities. And there are criteria available online in the accountability system for how those are determined. We have 10 health-related institutions. We have 7 TSTC and Lamar institutions, and of course, the Texas State Technical Colleges are in one institution from one perspective, and then we have, in terms of SACs, and then we have community colleges, and the community colleges are grouped simply by size, from very large to small. In terms of the data that we have available, there's enrollment information, degrees awarded, information about faculty, information about funds. You heard about success points this morning in the community college meetings. We have success point data available in the accountability system, so there's a lot there. And we do have some upcoming changes. With the introduction of the new 60 by 30 text plan, we thought it was time to redo the look and feel of the accountability system. So we're going to have a new user interface. We've had some folks this summer who were developing some behind-the-scenes software architecture so that we'll be able to make the system a little more interactive and user-friendly. So the look is changing, and right now we're working on that implementation. So not for this year, but for next year, for our January 2017 rollout, we will have a new look and feel to the system. And of course, the new system will include data around the goals and targets of our new 60 by 30 text plan. We'll have a highlight on workforce data, and of course, institutions will be involved in any review of the measures as we move forward. Here is where the accountability system is located. You might want to include this in your favorites if you have not already. This is our higher education data page. We have our own website. You can find us through the main coordinating board website, but we also have our own URL. And here's what that page looks like. I did want to mention there's a lot of additional data there beyond what we have in the accountability system. We have transfer reports, for example. So if you're a community college, you want to see where your students are transferring to, that's available. We just added, in fact, completion data to those transfer reports, so you can see what percentage of students transfer are completing. We have workforce data. We have a real wealth of high school to college data. Our K-12 partners, ISDs, folks at service centers use our data a lot to track students as they move through the pipeline from high school to college. So that's important data that we have. We also have a regional portal that allows for regional planning. Much of this data is available by institution, and we also have a lot of statewide data. This slide will show you how to find the accountability system. I'm glad it starts with A, so it's in alphabetical order, front and center under online applications. Some of our other applications are available there that you've heard about earlier today, like the CARET system. When you select the accountability system, you have the opportunity to select an institution type, and we also just a couple of years ago added some statewide data totals. So you can look by institution type. As you can see, it's organized by the goals of closing the gaps, participation, success, excellence, and research, as well as some different measures. But institutions can select their type of institution and look at the metrics organized by these categories. And as I said, that will be changing with our new plan. There's also interactive access to the system, so institutions can customize reports, and that's an area that will be expanding with the new system, so we're excited about that. And here's a sample of selecting. This is statewide data, but there's a drop-down menu, and you can select an institution and see what the data looks like. We also do send board members the accountability report, electronic copy, once everything has been finalized, so you will get that information in the spring. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation on the accountability system and the higher education data. I do encourage you again to go online, look at the data that's available. There's a lot there, and pick up a copy of the almanac on your way out today. Okay, and now it's really my pleasure to talk about the Closing the Gaps by 2015 plan, because we've really made a lot of tremendous progress in this state as a result of this plan, and I want to highlight some of the true successes that Texas has had. As Ginger mentioned before, the new plan, 60 by 30 text, builds on Closing the Gaps. And the goals of Closing the Gaps are still going to be important for the coordinating board. The new plan tells us where we need to go, but absolutely we're still going to be concerned with the areas in Closing the Gaps. The goals included improving participation, success, excellence, and research. And there were several strategies in the plan that were accomplished over the era of Closing the Gaps. For example, many people might not recall that one of the strategies was to try to allow universities to retain their overhead income from grants and contracts. And that happened. NRUF and competitive grant programs for expanding research capacity, that was a strategy, or a strategy led to that change. There was a strategy around increased emphasis on college preparation for high school students, and this was, of course, around some of the diploma programs we don't have anymore, but I think that really did lead to a change in culture in terms of thinking about not just focusing on graduating students from high school, but the importance of the pipeline and getting students ready for college and making sure they're prepared. And there's also, of course, a focus on ensuring that institutions had programs that were excellent. And I know in the accountability system now you can go, and for every institution, you'll see highlights of their excellent programs. And I know they're always very proud to share the things that they do well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our Closing the Gaps participation goal. We have our preliminary head count, which we get in October from institutions. It's not our final certified data, which we'll get in a little while. But in terms of our preliminary head count data, we are at 614,000 enrollments for fall 2015. This includes a proxy for our flex students and our career data, which we'll get later. So this won't be the final number, but I'm very proud to say we're over 97% of the goal of the adding 630,000 additional student goal. So it's pretty impressive to watch how the red line has kept up with the trend line in the state of Texas. In terms of our preliminary enrollments, this is a slide I shared at a board meeting, and one thing I wanted to highlight here is that our two-year colleges, after 3 years of downward trends, actually are showing increased enrollments of almost 10,000 students, so we're really excited to see that. Public universities continue to grow at a steady rate, so we have made some progress for sure this year in terms of our enrollments. And again, we'll get those final counts when the certified data comes in. I like to share this slide because we hear a lot about the challenges we have with male participation in higher education. But I think what this slide shows, and if you look at the blue bars are for 2000 and the red bars are 2014, and you can see for each of our major race ethnic groups, you can see on the left that our males have absolutely made progress we've absolutely made progress in terms of our male participation from 2000 to 2014. It's just that women in higher education have made even more progress, the females, and this slide highlights that. So in fact, percentage-wise, we're down a little bit in terms of our males, and we hope we can improve that. And anytime I share this slide, though, I also want to add that in terms of certain fields, we see a different type of balance. So in STEM fields, we see a much higher percentage of men, and that's an area where we all would like to see more women. But I think it's interesting to look at the trends over the time and see that, in fact, we're making progress for both genders. This data is about our 8th grade cohort, and we actually, for several years, have been tracking 8th grade students. We get information from the Texas Education Agency about the students who are enrolled in public K-12 in 8th grade, and we track those students for 11 years through higher education to see the results. And this year, we spent a little time breaking that data out by economic status. And so for the 8th graders who started in 2004, for those who weren't economically disadvantaged, 24% had earned a bachelor's degree within 6 years of getting through high school. That's basically the 11 years. Only 4% an associate and 2% a certificate. But then you see the data looks very different for the students who are economically disadvantaged. Their certificate and associate completion rate is similar, but we see a much lower bachelor's degree completion rate. And I know one of the targets in our new 60 by 30 text plan is to increase the completion rate of our economically disadvantaged students. And the pipeline is really important for that because we see a lot of these students disappear from the pipeline before they get to higher education. I will add, though, that for this 8th grade cohort, we see 57% of these students who were in 8th grade, 57% of those who graduate from Texas public high schools, we see them enroll in higher education. Overall, for our high school graduates, we're at 54%. Our target for the plan is to get to 65% for all of our students who are coming directly from high school. And for those students who come directly from high school, they are much more likely to be ready And the TSI is our Texas Success Initiative readiness statute, and it's our readiness measure for students. So if students have met TSI, if they're TSI ready, they're ready to go into college-level courses. And what we see is we're doing a lot better in terms of the readiness of those students who are coming to us directly from high school. But you can see it's pretty much flat for those students who aren't coming directly from high school. And sometimes these are because students have been out a long time, and some of these students just need a little refresher, a little extra help. Sometimes these students need a lot of help. But I think this slide emphasizes both the importance of having that strong pipeline from high school to college to get students to continue on right from high school, keep going. But it also emphasizes for the students who don't do that, it's really important to have supports in place to help them be able to handle college-level work and to give them the preparation they need to do that. Now I'm going to talk about success. And appropriately, we have been, I think, most successful with our success goal in Texas. In fact, we achieved the Closing the Gap success goal ahead of schedule. The goal was to have 210,000 undergraduate completions. Those are certificates and degrees. We were at, last year, 247,000. Approximately. So we've made real progress there, and we've added, and I think this was on a slide Ginger had, we added 2.6 million undergraduate credentials and degrees since 2000, and actually I think Ginger's slide showed that we need to add about 6.5 million more over the next 15 years. So we made a lot of progress in the last 15 years. We do have a ways to go, but I think it's very exciting. And one thing I think it's really important to point out here is that institutions are really had a lot to do with this. Institutions should be thanked. In fact, students did, but institutions played a really huge role in our success and the success of our success target. One thing I'd like to point out, and here we show how we've done with Hispanic students. One thing I'd like to point out is that although we haven't quite gotten there in terms of our participation goal, we are so close, within a couple of percentage points. But we're beyond in terms of success, and that's because institutions have been able to take the students who are coming to them and graduate more of them. And I think you've seen a real culture shift in Texas at institutions around success, and that really, it's not just having the students arrive and enroll, it's making sure they get the support they need to succeed. And so it's really exciting to see that, yeah, we're not quite there for participation, but for the students we have coming in, we have been very successful for those students. And we're gonna have to continue that and be even more successful. And I do like, and the commissioner will probably mention this in his speech tomorrow, but I do like to mention the fact that we have gone from, in 2000 for universities, 49% graduation rate for our 6-year graduation rate for the first time in college cohort, to over 60%. I think we're at 60.5% now for 2014, and we're just now getting our 2015 fiscal year completion data, so we're hoping and expecting that will continue. But that's a lot of progress in 15 years, and that's why we have surpassed our success goal. So thank you to institutions. I was just this morning looking at our community college 6-year completion rates. They're up 7% from 2000. We're really doing very well and need to continue along that line. And I like to show this slide just because it provides a little bit of information in terms of what our breakout looks like in terms of completion. I already mentioned that 80,000 completions for our Hispanic students. That's up from 33,000 in 2000. And you can see for all of our groups, we've absolutely seen increases in completion, but especially for our Hispanic and our African American students. So we're very proud of that. The other category as well, of course, has grown. And those are our multiracial students, our Asian students, our Native American students, several of our populations. Okay, so this slide talks about transfer, and it shows that more students are transferring from community colleges to universities, which is, of course, one of the missions of community colleges. And for those who aren't, we see more students completing awards or more students who are persisting. So this just gives you a feel for the 94 cohort that we looked at, their results in 2000 versus where we are for the 2008 cohort tracked through last fall. So we're making progress there, too, and it's exciting to see. Texas has made progress in terms of research funding and research expenditures. We have, although the state did not reach its goal of increasing its share, the state received substantially more in terms of total federal dollars, from $835 million to $1.4 billion in 2012. And also there was a target in Closing the Gaps for Research to reach the $3 billion point for research and development expenditures at institutions, and we're past that. And what I want to say, the final thing I want to say about excellence is that I think it's really important for everyone to understand that the majority of our students in Texas are undergraduates. 79% of public university students, 90%, that's a high number, 90% of all public college and university students are undergraduates, and in fact 41% of them are freshmen. So it's really important for us to make sure we keep undergraduates in mind as we move forward in Texas and with our new plan. And that completes the end of my prepared remarks, but I would be happy to answer questions, as I think Ginger would, if you've got anything you'd like to. Oh, maybe she wouldn't. She's in the middle of lunch, but I'd be happy to answer anything you might wish to ask. Well, thank you very much, and please do enjoy your dessert.